Hi there, so today we are going to be looking at how to build a 3D structure using only cardboard. So you're not going to be using tape, you're not going to be using glue, it should all hold together on its own using the slit and slot technique. I have got a pair of scissors and a pencil here to help me, but they will not be part of the final structure. So to start with, you will need a selection of cardboard shapes. Now, I've just used box cardboard, so it's this corrugated cardboard that you can see here. It's not too thick, but it's nice and strong, and I've cut some shapes out. So I've got some squares, I've got some triangles, a couple of circles here, some rectangles, some kind of non-ordinary shapes. So I've tried to think about a selection of shapes here. Now, these shapes are actually inspired by the shapes that I can see from the front of my house. The point of this is to create an abstract sculpture in the style of Kandinsky, but it is actually inspired by my home. You could apply this technique, however, to pretty much any project or any theme. So, I'm going to start with some of my larger shapes. And the technique is the same as you build up all of the shapes for the project. So I'm just going to put most of them to one side for now. And I'm going to start with these two. Now, when you're cutting out your slits for a shape to slot into, you need to make sure that the slit is not too wide. If the slit is too wide, then when you slide the cardboard in, it will just slide straight back out again. So I'm actually going to use the cardboard shapes themselves to help me draw on the lines. I've decided that I want to probably have these joining about here so that they slot together. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put a little mark here where I know I want to have a slit. I'm going to use this piece of cardboard, so I'm going to actually place the cardboard onto that line. And I'm going to use my pencil just to draw along and around this width. And you can see here that I've now got almost a rectangular shape marked onto my cardboard. Now, this is the width of this piece of cardboard, and because I've cut all of this out of one box, it will all be the same, which is perfect. Obviously, if you were using different thicknesses, you'd have to think about which piece is going to fit together and how thick the cut will need to be. If I cut directly onto these lines, I will most likely end up with a slot that is a little bit too wide. We want these slots to be tight-fitting so that it holds together. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use my scissors and I'm actually going to cut just inside these lines. So these lines that I've drawn here are a guide. I'm going to try and cut a very, very thin slit into this piece, just inside those lines. I'm going to cut once on the right, once on the left, and you can see that the lines are still visible either side. And then, because I can't get my scissors in that gap, and you can see the cardboard is already loosened, I'm actually just going to pull those pieces out. And I've got a little slot here now that is visible. So what I can do is I can just slot this piece of cardboard into the slit that I've cut, and it now holds together. If I wiggle it, it's not moving. Even if I tap it, it stays nice and secure. This is a slit and slot technique. So you have a slit that you have cut into this piece of cardboard, and then your other piece of cardboard will slot directly into it. Now you can see here that I have actually done this so that the rest of my circle sticks out a bit further. The other option you have, I'm going to place that up there for a moment, is if you wanted two items to slot into each other fully so that they meet with kind of a flat edge. So to do that, you actually need to cut a slit on both pieces. So I'm going to start by thinking about where I want this position. So I'm probably going to go about here on my triangle, and about here on my little square. So again, I'm going to use the same technique, placing my other piece of cardboard onto the line that I've marked and drawing around it. Now you can see that that is not very deep into the cardboard, but that is absolutely fine. Now I need to decide how far I want this to slot in. Now personally I think I'm probably going to do about the same width. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just place this on here and roughly estimate. So you can see the width from there to there is roughly the same as here to here. So I'm just going to mark this bit very carefully using my pencil again. Again, you'll see that my lines aren't that straight, it's just because the cardboard is a little bit wobbly. And again, I'm going to cut inside my lines. So a cut on the right, a cut on the left, and then pull out those pieces. That bit can be a little bit fiddly, but it will come out, just give it a little tug. And again on my triangle, a cut on the right, a cut on the left, and then slide. There we go. But now you'll see that when I slot these together, they will actually overlap a lot further. So you can see that I've got this gap here. So I could add in another shape into that slit, sorry. Or if I wanted to, I could just leave it. I could just leave it as part of the structure. What I think I'm actually going to do, because I quite like the way that this overlaps over here, I think what I'm actually going to do is slot this onto my other shape, which is now going to hold it all together as one. So you can see I've got the start here of a larger sculpture coming together. Rather than one or two pieces, I'm joining them all. So I'm very quickly now going to show you how I turn all of these smaller shapes into a larger piece. So as you can see here, I've added lots more shapes. I have got some extra ones over at the side here, but I've decided not to use them. I think I'm quite happy with these shapes. To me, this very much does represent my home. I've got this sort of triangle section over here, which is the shape of a roof, which reminds me a lot of that. I've got some circles here and here, which reminds me of the bushes outside my house. I've got smaller squares and rectangles that remind me of the windows, and then these larger, longer sections to remind me of the shape of the overall building and the floor plan. Now, I could keep adding to this. It can be seen from various different angles. I can leave it like this. It seems to stand up on its own. I could have it resting like this, or even like this. Like this. There's a lot of options. Also, I could even paint this. I could paint it separately and put it back together, or I could spray paint it perhaps. There's a lot of opportunities here, but it does hold together, and I have not used any tape or glue. The only tools I've used here is my cardboard, my scissors, and a nice sharp pencil to help me mark out. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you today and that this demonstration was useful. I hope you have a really lovely day, and I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.